Hare Krishna, we'll start with the invocation prayers. Nana Shastra Vicharinako Nipano Dharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarna Tribhuvane Manyo Saryana Karano Radha Krishna Padarvinda Bhajana Anandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubheva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. So we discussed last class about doing revisions. So it will be difficult to do revisions in all batches. So at batch number 3 and 4 from June 1st, Sunday, the classes are 7 a.m. Toronto time. We'll be revising Bhagavad Gita 2 chapters every week. You all are welcome to join to revise as well as to learn. So you all will also be doing presentations for those of you who are in batch 6 and 7 towards the end of Bhagavad Gita. So it's a learning opportunity also. You will anyway get in some instructions on that from me. But it's live to learn on how to do Bhagavad Gita presentations. So consider to attend if your time permits. I know it will be back-to-back classes from 7 a.m. Toronto time. It runs for 2 hours and then 30 minutes later you join this class. So consider, or you can listen to recording, whichever way works. So revision is important. Raksha had this conversation with me just a couple days back. Raksha, you want to share what was your question and what was my response? Raksha? Okay, somehow we are not able to hear from Raksha. Okay, we'll have Raksha speak at later time. All right, so today we will cover Nectar of Devotion, chapters 6 and 7. And we will populate one of the charts that I had given you for Nectar of Devotion. So chapter 6 is titled How to Discharge Devotional Service. So you would have populated on your overview chart that chapter 6 describes 64 items of sadhana bhakti. There's 10 activities to accept, means pravritti, then 10 activities to avoid, which is nivritti, then 44 additional items. So if you do most of these 64 items of devotional service, then your 24-hour day will be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. So I request all of you to take a minute and grab a piece of paper, or if you are taking notes virtually on an electronic document, make 3 columns on a piece of paper. I'll pause for a minute for you to grab a paper or make 3 column, whichever way works for you. So the 3 columns, you can title them. Column A, first column is items you are doing right now. Plus items you can easily start doing now. Second column title is items you should start doing as soon as is possible. And the third column is items that are goals to achieve in future. So these 3 columns, what you will do is, as we'll read through these 64 items of devotional service, it will become very obvious that some you may be already be doing right now, or some would be very, very simple to take up. And some you can, you should, not you can, the second column items, you should start doing as soon as possible. And some you can keep it as goals in future. That way you have a laundry list that what you can do right now, what you are doing right now, and what is your immediate next goal in terms of items that you should start doing as soon as possible. So that our goal is that we can make our 24-hour day as Krishna conscious possible as is possible. Everybody with me? Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Well, bro, can you repeat the first column again? Sorry.
Okay, I'll repeat all 3 columns. So make 3 columns on a blank page or virtually make 3 columns. Column number 1 is items you are doing right now plus items you can easily start doing right now. Second column is items you should start doing as soon as possible. And the third column is items that are goals to achieve in future. So as we read through, try to populate this chart as much as possible in the 3 columns. So you have a handy list with you. Anybody remembers the definition of sadhana bhakti? What does sadhana bhakti mean? Even if you have not memorized the essence of sadhana bhakti. Somebody?
One point Prabhuji, we discussed was to use our senses in devotional activities.
Very good. Yeah. So I will bring up on screen again the definition of sadhana bhakti. That, okay, let's see who can read. Chaitanya Prabhu, you want to read the translation from the screen?
Hare Krishna. When transcendental devotional service by which love for Krishna is attained is executed by the senses, it is called sadhana bhakti, or the regulative discharge of devotional service. Such devotional eternally exists within the heart of every living entity. The awakening of this eternal devotion is the potentiality of devotional service in practice. Hare Krishna.
Right, so it says sadhana bhakti is executed by senses. So that's what Rupa Goswami is helping us here. That Srila Rupa Goswami describes exactly how to engage our senses in Krishna's service from this chapter 6 onwards. So you will recall our discussion earlier that chapter 6 is just a laundry list. There's no description in there. Chapter 6 is simply a laundry list of items, and then chapter 7 onwards, it describes one or more items in the chapters in more detail. So we will first populate chart number 1 that I had provided. So I provided you an overview, page 1, and then 4 charts on the next page. So we will populate this chart number 1. Everybody has the chart with you? Silence. Everybody ready with the chart?
Prabhuji, can you send me the chart here in the chat or somewhere, or I can actually draw it, but I don't have the.
So I sent you earlier. I don't know if I have it handy right now. So draw it. It's straightforward. So I sent earlier the chart with the overview. There were 2 pages. One was the overview and the second page was the chart. There were 4 charts. So just draw on a page if there are simple boxes. Correct. So you can see the chart on the screen that there is one box on the left. Then there are 3 boxes in the middle, and the top box in the middle is split into 2 further boxes. So for the leftmost big box, you can populate 64 ways to execute sadhana bhakti. Then you have 3 boxes in the middle. The top box, you will populate 20 primary important items. Then you have the rightmost 2 boxes, and the top of the rightmost box, you will populate items 1 to 10, activities to accept. This is pravati. And then the rightmost 2 boxes, the second box, you will populate items 11 to 20, activities to avoid, means nivritti. Then you will come back to the middle 3 boxes. The middle box you will populate items 21 to 59 of sadhana, And then the middle three box, the bottom box, the only box left to populate, you will populate items 60 to 64 most potent 5 items. So if you aim to do the first 20 items plus the last 5 most potent items, your spirituality will be in a fast forward mode. Everybody with me? Questions, comments, realizations? All right. So now we'll go to chapter 6, and we will read directly from the chapter. So chapter 6 is titled How to Discharge Devotional Service. In paragraph number 1, it describes that basic principles, not details, just the basic principles are listed in this chapter. Lakshmi, you want to read chapter 6, paragraph number 1?
Hare Krishna, yes. Chapter 6, paragraph 1. Srila Rupa Goswami states that his elder brother Santana Goswami has compiled Hari Bhakti Vilasa for the guidance of the Vaishnavas, and therein has mentioned many rules and regulations to be followed by the Vaishnavas. Some of them are very important and prominent, and Srila Rupa Goswami will now mention these very important items for our benefit. The purport of this statement is that Srila Rupa Goswami proposes to mention only basic principles, not details. For example, a basic principle is that one has to accept a spiritual master. Exactly how one follows the instructions of a spiritual master is considered a detail. For example, if one is following the instruction of his spiritual master and that instruction is different from the instructions of another spiritual master, this is called detailed information. But the basic principle of acceptance of a spiritual master is good everywhere, although the details may be different. Srila Rupa Goswami does not wish to enter into details here, but wants to place before us only the principles.
Very good.
Hare Krishna.
Everybody on the same page. So chapter 6 has laundry listing of 64 items of sadhana bhakti. Okay. And now we will also go and read chapter 6, the last 2 paragraphs. So just skip through the 64 items. I'll explain them very soon. So we'll first read the last 2 paragraphs. Meghna Gupta, are you able to read the last 2 paragraphs? The paragraph starts with, now the total regulative principles.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Now the total regulative principles come to an aggregate of 64 items. As we have mentioned, the first are the primary 10 regulative principles, then come the secondary 10 regulative principles, and added to these are 44 other activities. So altogether, there are 64 items for discharging the regulative practice of devotional service. Out of these 64 items, 5 items, namely worshipping the deity, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, associating among the devotees, Sankirtana, and living in Mathura, are very important. The 64 items of devotional service should include all of our activities of body, mind, and speech. As stated in the beginning, the regulative principle of devotional service enjoins that all of our senses must be employed in the service of the Lord. Exactly how they can be thus employed is described in above 64 items. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami will give evidence from different scriptures supporting the authenticity of many of these points.
All right, very good. Everybody on the same page as to what chapter 6 is going to describe?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Hari Krishna.
All right. So now what we'll do is we will start chapter 7 and we will go back between chapter 6 and chapter 7. Simply reading the 64 items doesn't help. We'll read them together in small chunks with the details that are given in chapter 7 and onwards. So chapter 7 is titled Evidence Regarding Devotional Principles. And from the Nectar of Devotion overview chart, you would have populated on the big brief details column that this chapter 7 has explanation of items number 1 to 18 from chapter 6. So you also, from your overview chart, you can also visualize that chapter 6 has laundry list, and then chapter 7 to 13 has detailed explanation of one or more items in these chapters. So chapter 7 discusses items number 1 to 18 from the 64 items described in chapter 6. So items number 1 to 10 are activities to accept. These are pravritti. And the first 5 items are linked items. So I request Ritu to go to chapter 6 and read first 5 items, which starts, he mentions the basic principles as follows. Read the first 5.
Hare Krishna, he mentions the basic principles as follows: accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master, becoming initiated by the spiritual master, and learning how to discharge devotional service from him, obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion, following in the footsteps of great acharyas, teachers, under the direction of the spiritual master, inquiring from the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness.
So the first 5 items are basically linked items about approaching a spiritual master, getting initiated, and following his instructions and making inquiries from spiritual master. This is step number 1 in spirituality. That first step is to take shelter of a spiritual master. At initiation, the disciple makes a serious vow to follow rules and regulations, as well as chant at least 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. So ISKCON's parampara is basically a Siksha parampara. And this is formalized by initiation so that Shiksha can go on. Just as in the material world, a student registers in a university for formal education. And one of the point of the first 5 points we read about serving the Guru. So spiritual master is the manifestation of Paramatma. Now a question will come up that do you serve your initiating spiritual master, or do you serve the local authority where you are? Because spiritual master is at a different place than where you are. Then who are you serving? So ideally, both should work in cooperation, meaning the spiritual master as well as the governing body authority that is there at the local temple where you are, they are all representing Srila Prabhupada. So they will generally have cooperation, and both are helping the disciple to come closer to Krishna. So we should not think that I should not be thinking that I only have to serve my Diksha Guru. No, we generally learn Krishna consciousness from many. Some are bona fide spiritual masters giving Diksha, some are bona fide spiritual masters acting as Siksha Guru, and there are other devotees also giving instructions. And then one of the point is about following in the footsteps of spiritual masters and saintly persons. And then we have to inquire about the principles of religion. And we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Paripratena, Pariprashnena, Paripratena, Sevaya, that we have to inquire submissively and do service to the spiritual master. Questions, comments, realizations on the first 5 items? So I have explained this earlier, that even if you all are not ready for initiation, you can consider to take a bona fide spiritual master who has the ability to give you initiation. You can take him as Siksha Guru. Just as my spiritual master, His Grace Vaisheshika Das Adhikari, he acted as Siksha Guru for some 8+ years for me, even though I did not realize, even though I did not actually say this, but he was giving me instructions upon every visit. Okay, you follow this. Okay, you follow this. And next time on his visit, I will go and get further guidance. Okay, I did what you said. I got stuck here. And then he kept guiding me, even though I wasn't realizing that part. So you also can consider this part. And just because you take bona fide spiritual master as Siksha Guru does not mean you have to get initiated. Does not mean you have to get initiated from the same spiritual master. You can still get initiated from a different spiritual master. Although Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, very first chapter on spiritual master, goes on to say that a bona fide spiritual master who can give you initiation, who is acting as Siksha Guru, generally he goes on to become as your initiating spiritual master, although it's not mandatory, but generally that's what happens. Questions, comments, realizations? All right. Samma will go to chapter 6 and read items number 6 to 10 from where Ritu left off.
6th, being prepared to give up anything material for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This means that when we are engaged in devotional service of Krishna, we must be prepared to give up something which we may not like to give up, and also we have to accept something which we may not like to accept. 7th, residing in the sacred place of pilgrimage like Dwarka or Vrindavan. 8th, accepting only what is necessary or dealing with the material world only as far as necessary. 9th, observing the fasting day on Ekadashi. And 10th, worshipping sacred trees like the banyan tree.
So these items are pretty straightforward. And these 10 items are preliminary items that we should try to follow. So you all, as we made the 3 columns, you all can consider to populate from the first 10 items in which column they are. So it should, these first 10 items should be in the first two columns, that I have to do them right now. I'm already doing it, or I have to start them immediately. Because without spiritual master, the rest of the items are very difficult to follow. Yes, you may be able to do a little bit here or there, but with the help of spiritual master, rest of the items becomes easier to follow. Questions, comments, realizations? Lakshmi.
Hare Krishna. So are you like my Diksha Guru or Siksha Guru, sorry?
So I am
because I get it from you, right?
Yeah, I am definitely not your Diksha Guru, nor am I a Siksha Guru. I'm just giving, sharing what I know from, and I'm doing a service that has been asked or given to me. So if you interested, you can get a bona fide spiritual master. For this, you follow the process of first getting a mentor, and the mentor helps you identify which spiritual master is appropriate for you, even if it is Siksha Guru. And there are about, the number keeps changing, but there are about 100 plus, 100, little more than 100 spiritual masters, bona fide spiritual masters in ISKCON. They are all identical, they just have different nature. So you can consider to get a mentor, and the mentor can guide you further on choosing a spiritual master. I am nobody. Lakshmi.
So then, like, if we are reaching out to the mentor and the mentor is guiding us to a Siksha Guru first, then, like, can that happen even if we are not following so many of these principles and regulations?
Yeah, you are correct. You can still get a bona fide spiritual master as your Siksha Guru, because we have discussed this point earlier, that bhakti process is purely independent. It is not that you have to purify yourself first by some other process and then come to bhakti. No, you go enter the bhakti process in your impure state, and spiritual master is going to help you get purified little by little. Lakshmi?
Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna. So then, sorry, like if I have to reach out to a mentor, like, is there a specific person, or is that?
Yeah, there's a specific person. So you can connect with me offline, and I can connect you to a mentor that is appropriate. And it also depends on the capacity of mentor. So there are few official mentors in each temple as well as in Toronto temple, and I can connect with you with one of them. So mentor is your buddy. So for Vaishnavi, it will be a Vaishnavi mentor, and for Vaishnav, it will be a Vaishnav mentor. And although this is a very important step, but there are always shortage of mentors also. So when I had to get initiated, it took me a hell of a task, hell of a length of time to even find a mentor. Even though I've been going to the temple for so long. So there are shortages. Of course, there are mentors available. Therefore, I said, so some mentors will run out of their capacity. They can only handle so many mentees at a time. But if you are interested, connect with me offline, not just Lakshmi, whoever, and I can try to get you connected with the mentor. And those of you who are physically not around Toronto area, you can try to get a mentor from a local temple is preferred, because the mentor is a buddy, literally a very close buddy with whom you can and you should be able to speak and share anything and everything. Lakshmi?
Yes, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Sumnima?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, the point 7 of where it says residing in Dwarika Vrindavan, how practical is that for somebody in Grihastha?
Yeah, so we have discussed this in Nectar of Instruction, that residing in Vraja is not just physically going to Vrajbhumi and residing there permanently. Yes, if you can, by all means, you should. Just as we have Ritu, she was present, she seems disconnected now. So Ritu is from Vrindavan. She was in Toronto for a little while, and now she is in the process of getting back to Vrindavan. But Vrindavan is more of a mood that you make your home not as a home but as a temple. Do worship of Gopinath at your home temple, and you are just a tenant in your home temple. It's Krishna's darbar. That becomes Vrajbhumi. So you are worshipping Krishna, you're glorifying Krishna, you're chanting, you're serving devotees. That is Vrindavan, not just the physical place. Yes, physical place is also Vrindavan, but you can make your place as Vrindavan. So, Nima?
Yes, Prabhuji. Also, in point 10, it says worshipping banyan tree. So, is there any alternative to the banyan tree if that's not around?
You can just worship Tulsi Maharani.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
And worshipping Tulsi Maharani is one of the items anyway coming up in the 64 items. But Tulsi Maharani, every morning, offer 3 drops of water, circumambulate and recite the prayers. That's good, you know.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Abhishek Prabhu.
Prabhuji, like, I'm confused about this banyan tree point because, I'm not sure if we even try to follow that.
Yeah.
So, like, some principles are more.
Yeah, you are correct. You are correct. Some principles will be very difficult to follow. So, for example, we'll discuss at our next class about the offenses to avoid. One is do not go to the temple in a palanquin. Now, if you ask somebody, many will say, what is a palanquin? They don't even know. So, certain points are there. You follow what is possible. There are 64 items. So, skip this one about banyan tree and replace it with Tulsi Maharani. Don't worry about so much focused on something that is little outdated. Abhishek Prabhu.
Thank you.
So if you say that rest of the 63 items are on your column number A, that you are doing the 63 items right now, or you will start doing right now, then come and talk to me about this banyan tree as the 64 item. There are 64 items, and you will soon realize that some will fall in column number 3. Well, focus on what you can do and what you can start right away so that you can fast forward your spirituality. There are so many items that so important. The first 5, as I said, about spiritual master. So instead of focusing on banyan tree, your question should be, how can I get to the spiritual master as soon as possible? Because that is more important than the banyan tree. Abhishek Prabhu.
Thank you.
All right. So these are the first 10 items, Pravati. And now the next 10 items are activities to avoid, means Nivriti. Lakshmi has a question.
Sorry, I forgot to ask Hare Krishna. There was one mention of for those 10 items about Ekadashi.
Yeah.
Like, how do we know when? Like, is there a calendar on what are we supposed to do about that?
Yeah, so there's a calendar. I will send you a link. I can post the link in the chat right now from the Toronto temple. So, okay, I will send it to Lakshmi offline because you are all from different places. So I'm not posting that in the chat. So you go to your local temple and there will be a date and time for Ekadashi and when to break the fast, because the time varies from country to country, city to city, and place to place. It's reasonably on the same day, sometimes overlaps between days. But generally, Ekadashi, what you have to do is you have to you do not have to eat grains and beans, and you have to eat, say, there are certain items that you can eat. I generally follow on Ekadashi, I survive on milk and fruits and water. There are few eatable items like buckwheat flour and quinoa you can eat. So there are levels of Ekadashi standards you can follow. The highest standard of Ekadashi is that it should be complete fast, every Ekadashi. Ekadashi is generally every 15 days. So the next Ekadashi is coming up this Wednesday, 7th of May. So the highest standard is that you have complete fast every Ekadashi. If you cannot do complete fast, you can do the next level down, which is survive on milk, fruits, and water, which is what I do. I generally, on Ekadashi day, I generally survive on milk, fruits, and water. And the lowest standard is where devotees eat so many other items, like they will eat items about buckwheat flour or quinoa and whatnot. Is okay to do it. Say if you have a lot of services and you need to eat something to survive, then nothing wrong with being at the lowest level of the standard. But try what works, and you can start with something small, like be only taking milk, fruits, and water. And then the following day is known as Dwadashi. There is a particular time to break your Ekadashi fast. You break the Ekadashi fast by taking grains. So 7th of May, this Wednesday is Ekadashi, and then Thursday, 8th of May, in Toronto, the time is, I think, around 9:38 a.m. and it runs for about 1 hour or so, and the time varies. That's the time between this time you break your fast, and then you can go back to eating regularly.
And when do you start the fast? Like from midnight or like?
So the previous day, so on Tuesday, the last meal that you took is your last meal, and that's when the Ekadashi fast starts. So whatever time you would be taking, it's not hard and fast. You generally try to take little early and be fresh with the fasting.
Sorry. And why are we like? What is this? Like, is this? What is the background of this Ekadashi?
Yeah.
Like,
So His Grace, His Grace Bhakti Yoga Prabhu has taught us. You might have missed that class. He will come again. So there's a whole pastime where Krishna tried to kill a demon. I will only briefly explain, and you can either listen to the recording or whenever Bhakti Yoga Prabhu explains Ekadashi again.
okay.
So there was this pastime where a demon was having a fight with Krishna, and when Krishna was trying to kill him, or he was running away, and he hid himself in all the grains. So Krishna had a choice that he could have destroyed all the grains. Well, then there would be nothing left for rest of us to eat. So Krishna played a trick that he was trying as if he's sleeping, and this demon comes to kill him, and then this person by the name of Ekadashi comes and kills this demon, although it's impossible to kill Krishna. So then Krishna gives the benediction that, okay, my devotees will do fast on Ekadashi. So it falls every 2 weeks, so as to glorify this devotee of Krishna. So it's a direct instruction of Krishna that Krishna has said, my devotees will fast on Ekadashi. Lakshmi, I want to explain
Yeah.
very
Thank
briefly.
you. Thank you very much.
but you
Hare
can
Krishna.
listen to the class recording that Bhakti Yoga Prabhu has given on Ekadashi, or he will come up again at some point of time. It's just
This
like
is
very big.
this is good enough. It's a direct instruction. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will send you offline the link to the calendar, where the temple calendar, where you can see the dates of when Ekadashi is and when to break the fast and the timing. It's all there. For this coming Ekadashi, I already gave it to you.
Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna.
So there's a point in the chat. Let's see. Should we select spiritual master only when we have enough faith that we can follow all his instruction, which could be an advanced stage? So I already explained that you do not have to purify yourself by some other process and then come to Bhakti Yoga. No, Bhakti Yoga itself is the purification process. And if you try to purify by yourself, it will take a very long time. It's like you trying to come out of a well by climbing a rope by yourself. There's a high chance of fall down if you do that. But if you take a spiritual master, even if it is as a Siksha Guru at the start, it's the spiritual master helping and guiding you. So you don't have to wait to become advanced. Spiritual master is going to help you come to the advanced stage from whatever your stage right now. Abhishek Prabhu, does that help?
So probably at our stage, at least we should get a Siksha Guru and then follow under his direction and move towards Diksha.
Yeah. So yeah, take a bona fide spiritual master who has the ability to give initiation. Take him as Siksha Guru. Go on day one and tell him this, that I'm not ready for initiation, but I need guidance. Therefore, I want you as Siksha Guru. The other question in the chat, Priyadarshini says, can we have sabudana during Ekadashi fasting? Yes, you can. So be very careful, even though I'm saying yes. Depends on how sabudana is made. So generally, yes, sabudana is a valid item to eat on Ekadashi, as long as it does not have any grains and any beans in it. Beans will not be there, but sometimes grains may get mixed. As long as no grains, no beans, then you are okay. Sabudana is an okay item to take. But there are a lot of items that you can and you cannot take, and you will also find variations that some will say, oh, you can take this item on Ekadashi, and some will say you cannot take. Therefore, to avoid all this confusion, I do the simple task of I survive on milk, fruits, and water on Ekadashi day. Priyadarshini?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Somnima?
Prabhuji, is less meal better on Ekadashi, or is it the same thing? We take fruits multiple times a day.
So the purpose of fasting is to spend more time on spirituality. So if you try to focus, oh, when am I going to eat next? Oh, when am I going to break my fast? That fasting is going to be a torture for you. Because you will be continuously thinking, I am hungry, I am hungry, I am hungry. But if you focus more on spirituality, you will not even realize that you are fasting. Generally on Ekadashi day or even on festival days, say Janmashtami, when many fast the whole day, when I am at the temple, I don't even realize that I am fasting, even though I'm doing so much services, because the service takes over. So fasting, the purpose is not to torture yourself, but to spend more time on spirituality. So on Ekadashi day, you can make a plan that you will read more, you will do more japa, you will do more devotional service, so that this fasting or this that you are not eating will not even be there in your thoughts.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
All right. So Sumnima will read the next 5 items, and in chapter 6, then one paragraph you can skip the small, and then it starts. The next set of instruction is listed as follows. So you can read 5 items.
One should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees. 2, one should not instruct a person who is not desirous of accepting devotional service. 3, one should not be very enthusiastic about constructing costly temple or monasteries. 4, one should not try to read too many books, nor should one develop the idea of earning his livelihood by lecturing on or professionally reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. 5, one should not be neglectful in ordinary dealings.
So, I mean, many of them are straightforward items. That first is that give up association of atheists, Mayavadis, and materialistic people. We have discussed about association with materialistic people at our workplace, that you be functionally present. You don't have to get emotionally involved with your materialistic colleagues, and you just avoid that way, and you give your association to them by giving them prasad or books where possible. You don't have to rush or push yourself. And then the 15 also, that should be straightforward in ordinary dealings, refers to financial transactions. Okay. Priya Darshini will read the next 5 items from that paragraph where Sunima left off.
From point number 6, Prabhuji.
Correct.
One should not be under the spell of lamentation in loss or jubilation in gain. One should not disrespect the demigods. One should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entity. One should carefully avoid the various offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord or in worshipping the deity in the temple. One should be very intolerant towards the blasphemy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or his devotees.
So the lamentation or jubilation point is very relevant, that we should be neutral. Whether something good happens, whether something bad happens. We have discussed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, it should be around verse number 56, about upheaval, that both good and bad can be upheaval. So by being neutral, we are trying to avoid strong emotions either way, either in happiness or in misery. We have strong emotions. So when we have these extreme emotions, either of happiness, of material success, or miseries of material failure, in those extreme circumstances, it's difficult to remember Krishna. And therefore, we avoid those circumstances by being neutral. So, chapter number 7 described items number 1 to 18 to certain point. Item number 19, which is offenses to avoid, is such an important item that a whole chapter, chapter number 8, is assigned for this item. So we'll discuss this item number 19, offenses to avoid, at our next class. Many of you have already attended this class, but it's definitely very good to keep refreshing the offenses to avoid, because this is the single largest item for advancement in spirituality, that avoid offenses and you will fast forward your spirituality. So there's a question posted in the chat which says, what does not being neglectful in ordinary duty mean? So as Grahastha, you have household duties to take care of family. That's your ordinary duty. You have to do it. You cannot just say, in the name of Krishna consciousness that that I will avoid. No, that's for pure devotee. So it's one of the question coming up in our question answer session about this also. And we'll discuss that when we reach there. We'll read this paragraph. Abhishek Prabhu will read the next paragraph, which says, without following the above mentioned 10 principles.
Hare Krishna. Without following the above mentioned 10 principles, one cannot properly elevate himself to the platform of sadhana bhakti or devotional service in practice. Altogether, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions 20 items, and all of them are very important. Out of 20, the first three, namely accepting shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, taking initiation from him, and serving him with respect and reverence, are the most important.
Questions, comments, realizations on the first 20 items.
Hare Krishna, Baby. On the loss and jubilation part, it is only for material things, right? Like in spiritual life also we get happy and sometimes distressed.
Yeah. So yeah, either way you stay neutral. Yeah, you will get some happiness from doing devotional service. Yes. But don't get pumped up that look what I achieved. Stay neutral. Yes, you take happiness. Yes, you will get miseries also in spiritual life. But try to stay neutral. Try to remember Krishna's instruction to stay neutral amid happiness and distress, and you will fast forward your spirituality.
Okay, thank you.
So although some of you say that nectar of devotion is slightly heavy, in reality, nectar of devotion heavy part is in chapters 15 and 16 about Raganuga Bhakti, and then chapters 17 and 18 about Bhava Bhakti. So these chapters on Raganuga Bhakti and Bhava Bhakti are actually the heavy part of nectar of devotion. So far, nectar of devotion is pretty straightforward, and it is pretty straightforward up to chapter 14. Although some of you already said that initially seemed very heavy. Yes, it is heavy compared to what is coming up to chapter 14. Nectar of devotion is pretty straightforward, largely straightforward. There are portions that we need to grasp, what we discussed at the start about rasa and chapala sukha and klesha, etc. Yes, there are heavy components, but otherwise, up to chapter 14, nectar of devotion is pretty straightforward. Chapter 15, 16 on Raganuga Bhakti and chapter 17, 18 on Bhava Bhakti, those are real heavy chapters. We won't cover anything more. We have completed chapter 6 and 7. Next class is item number 19 from the first 20 items, which we'll discuss at our following class, a very important class about offenses to avoid. And probably devotees from other batches may also join this next class. Lakshmi?
Hare Krishna. So I'm assuming that there is no particular order to follow these, like it is not in a serial order, or like it says most important is to get a spiritual master, but other than that, the others are whatever we can do, or
Yeah, you are correct. Both points you are correct that the getting a spiritual master, getting initiated, serving him and following his instructions, those are your starting point. Those are most important. The others you can take as it becomes convenient for you. For example, one of the item from the remainder 44 items we'll discuss, to put on tilak every day. It's very straightforward. You can just start right away to put tilak every day. Now, some of you will say, but I go to work in the material world. How can I put Vaishnav tilak? No, put water tilak. Every day, put water tilak. When I go to work physically at my work location, I put on water tilak. So take up. So there's no sequence that you have to follow. Just try to get as many of the 64 items in your column A that you will start doing right away, or you're already doing it, or you will aim to get them started as soon as is possible. Lakshmi?
Thank you. So sorry, what is this water tilak?
So normally you put the Vaishnav tilak with the chandan that you get from Vrindavan.
Yeah.
So it lives with it's very obvious that you have a white mark on your head.
Hmm.
And if your workplace allows, well, by all means put it. But if you go with that tilak and your colleagues will say, what is this on your head?
Hmm.
So to avoid that, you can just put water tilak, means you make the tilak with water. So the tilak is there, is just not visible to others.
So you just touch water to your forehead?
Yeah, the way you make the tilak with the chandan,
Yeah.
you do the exact same with water.
Okay. Thank you. Krishna.
Questions, comments, realizations? All right. Now I will answer inquiries. There are a lot of inquiries. It's possible that we may still not complete all the inquiries today. Not to worry, I will answer in subsequent classes, but we'll aim to cover a lot of them today. So I will bring up on screen. So I had answered up to question number 4 at our last class, and therefore now I will start from question number 5 onwards. Question number 5 is, what does it mean that sannyasis come from head of Supreme Lord Krishna? Likewise, vanaprastha from arms, grahastha from waist, and brahmacharis from legs. So devotees from batch 6 and 7, you have not yet heard the discussion on Bhagavad Gita chapter 11 on the universal form. And therefore, right now, I will briefly describe. So Bhagavad Gita's universal form is an actual real form, while Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form is just a conception. It's not a real form. So Bhagavad Gita's universal form that was revealed to Arjuna described in chapter 11, that's a real form. While Srimad Bhagavatam also describes a universal form, is just a concept. It's not a real form at all. Why Srimad Bhagavatam gives this concept is to get materialistic people thinking on the path of spirituality, because materialistic people anyway like to think and think of big things. So materialistic people like to think about big things such as big building, big ships, big mountains, etc. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form, to get all these items, to get materialistic people think about the Lord, Srimad Bhagavatam's concept of the universal form uses statements such as rivers are like the veins of the Lord, mountains are like the bones of the Lord. So that materialistic people can use their thinking towards spirituality. They anyway are looking at and imagining these big rivers and big mountains. I'm only giving very few examples. There's a lot of details. And in that conceptualization discussion in Srimad Bhagavatam of the universal form, it also describes that sannyasi, vanaprastha, grahastha, brahmachari form the different parts of Lord's body. But all this is concept only, and this is not a real form. Does that answer the inquiry? All right. Question number 6. Can we have a tattoo on our body, say hand or someplace, so that we can remember Krishna? My recommendation is do not have a tattoo related to Krishna, because Krishna is absolute. So if you have a tattoo on your hand someplace, say Hare Krishna, or you have Krishna's any of the name or Krishna's picture, well, without me realizing, all that is actually Krishna, because Krishna is absolute. And you do not want to take Krishna to the washroom. So if you don't have a tattoo, try not to get a tattoo about Krishna or Krishna's names, so that you can avoid such things. Question number
Prabhuji,
7. Abhishek.
in this, like some items like the mala which we wear, nursing kavach which we wear, for them it is okay, because
Yeah, what you wear is okay, like the tulsi beads you have on your neck, or you may have Narsim Kavach, that's okay. But the japa mala, don't take your japa mala to the washroom. For other items, that's okay. I mean, you can really avoid certain things that are okay.
thank
Question number 7. Should we remember the face of Krishna while hearing our chanting, or should we just concentrate in hearing while doing japa? So the proper process is to simply focus on hearing the japa while you are doing your japa. But right now, because my mind is agitated and I cannot focus, therefore you can try to remember Krishna either by his face, or his names, or his pastimes, or his qualities, or his words in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. Whichever way works, just so as to get help from Krishna to control the mind, because this remembrance of Krishna is the strongest deterrent from mind wandering. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Question number 8. How can a person who only has little attraction to Krishna and attached to fruitive activities have unflinching faith? What is unflinching faith here? So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, verse number 35 is the direct answer. I'll bring up on screen and we'll read. The essential learning from the life of Dhruv Maharaj is that everyone is fit to worship the Lord, even if one has many material desires to fulfill. He should still take to Krishna consciousness and worship the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is so merciful that he fulfills everyone's desires. So Dhruv Maharaj is an example of Bhagavad Gita 7.16, that those who are wanting opulences, material opulences, from the 4 kinds of people who start rendering devotional services to Krishna. So let's read Srimad Bhagavatam 4.8.35. We have on screen. Kamana, can you read translation and purport from the screen?
Dhruva Maharaj said, "My dear Lord Naradji, for a person whose heart is disturbed by the material conditions of happiness and distress, whatever you have so kindly explained for attainment of peace of mind is certainly a very good instruction, but as far as I am concerned, I am covered by ignorance, and this kind of philosophy does not touch my heart." Purport: There are various classes of men. One class is called akamis, referring to those who have no material desire. Desire must exist, either material or spiritual. Material desire arises when one wants to satisfy one's personal senses. One who is ready to sacrifice anything to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be said to have a spiritual desire. Dhruva did not accept the instruction given by the great saint Narada because he thought himself unfit for such instruction, which prohibited all material desires. It is not a fact, however, that those who have material desires are prohibited from worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the essential instruction from the life of Dhruva. He frankly admitted that his heart was full of material desires. He was very much affected by the cruel words of his stepmother, whereas those who are spiritually advanced do not care about anyone's condemnation or adoration. In
Okay,
Bhagavad Gita, it is said.
so this line, it is not a fact, however, that those who have material desires are prohibited from worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the direct answer to the inquiry. Kamna, continue.
In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that persons who are actually advanced in spiritual life do not care for the dual behavior of this material world. But Dhruva Maharaj frankly admitted that he was not beyond the affliction of material distress and happiness. He was confident that the instruction given uh, by the Narada was valuable, yet he could not accept it. The question raised here is whether or not a person afflicted by material desires is fit to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The answer is that everyone is fit to worship him. Even if one has many material desires to fulfill, he should take to Krishna consciousness and worship the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is so merciful that he fulfills everyone's desires. Through this narration, it will become very clear that no one is barred from worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even if one has many material desires.
So, if one goes to Krishna with desires, he will go on to get purified. Does that answer the inquiry?
Probably, what is the point on unflinching faith?
So your faith will have degrees. Somebody starting to study scriptures, that's your starting point. So this point will get about faith, the different levels, will get discussed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 17. And Abhishek Prabhu, I think you have already attended that materialistic people have no faith. Then they start saying, okay, there is some higher authority, so their faith is increasing. Then they come to having faith in scriptures, and then they come to having faith in Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So there are degrees that one goes through. Unflinching faith is pretty high level. But even if somebody is at the starting point, doesn't know anything about spirituality, even he can start, is explained from the example of Dhruva Maharaj from what we read. Abhishek Prabhu?
Thank you.
Lakshmi?
Hare Krishna, is it possible to find this text 835 online? Like in a.
Yeah, you have it. I'll send you the link.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Question number 9. Can demigod worshippers or Indians in general with some faith in higher power be called Kanishta devotee, wise category Jnani? So what will you do with the answer to this question? Somebody? If I give you an answer, what will you do with the answer?
Hare Krishna, I didn't, I mean, it wasn't me who asked this question, but I'm imagining that I am making, I don't mean like an excuse, but I'm allowing myself to accept whatever it is that I'm doing with this answer. Is that if I am doing only so much, then I can still be called as a devotee. Maybe I'm making an excuse.
All right, very good. Rest of you? What will you do with the answer?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, nothing much actually.
Exactly, nothing much. Rest of you, what will you do with the answer?
Prabhuji, I'm trying to understand that Srila Prabhupada said sometime that people in India, almost all of them are devotees. So is he referring to a broader definition, or
So
there
it's
is
not
some
just
other?
in India, 100% of the souls are devotees. They are just covered with ignorance. 100% of them are devotees. So I have stated multiple times to get out of the mindset of wanting to do PhD on Krishna or PhD on spirituality. Sumnima answered it perfectly. I will do nothing. Or Lakshmi answered it perfectly. I will try to find an excuse that, okay, I am somebody. So we have discussed at our yoga discussion that Krishna has stated towards the end of Bhagavad Gita chapter 9, as well as Bhagavad Gita 18.56 onwards, that whatever be your level does not matter. Just start doing bhakti, and bhakti is so potent that bhakti will elevate anyone and everyone. So what difference does it make to you whether Indians are categorized here or there? Or even if it is for you, why are you trying to do a PhD on this? Because the answer is irrelevant. Just focus on doing bhakti. If you have time to analyze the first 5 items of the 64 items that we discussed, that how come I don't have a spiritual master? What am I lacking? We discussed clearly from the 64 items of devotional service. Focus on the first 20 items that you need to do right away. And the last 5 items are the most potent items. If you do these 25 items, if you are in this category trying to do for yourself, well, do these 25 items from the 64 items, and your spirituality will run fast forward. And if you are trying to understand the Indian population, well, you are trying to be a jnani. You are trying to do a PhD. I have said we are not here to become a jnani. We are trying to become a bhakta. So coming back to the question about that, that faith in some higher power does not mean faith in Krishna. And also this Kanishta Adhikari does not necessarily mean Jnani category. They can be, but it's not all of it. So you have to understand Kanishta Adhikari is from the characteristic that Kanishta Adhikari worships only at the temple and does not value devotees, has some knowledge and some faith, but his knowledge and faith is weak. Therefore, he cannot be a Jnani. Now, the word devotee is only for Krishna's devotee. So, those who are devoted to a demigod, they are not referenced by the word devotee. There's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam for this. It's only Krishna's devotees are called devotees. So, my request on a go-forward basis, I have answered this PhD-like question so far. So on a go-forward basis, can I stop answering such questions wanting to do a PhD? Correct approach should be for you to think for a potential answer and realize that this so-and-so question could be a Jnani level question and is useless, waste of time. Does that answer the question? And please let me know if on a go-forward basis, I can skip answering the Jnani level questions. That if you are trying to do PhD, I need to get you out of that mindset. Don't do PhD, become a bhakta. Everybody, I want to hear from you.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, for what?
You can avoid answering this kind of question.
Everybody?
In our ignorance, we may still ask, but yes, you can please tell us if
you
it
can
is.
ask. Yeah, you are correct. You can still ask, but I can say, okay, you have asked this question for your learning. This is a Jnani question. We don't need to spend time on it. Yeah, Lakshmi, you are absolutely correct.
Yes.
But you can judge for yourself also with a potential answer. That what will you do with the answer? And Lakshmi and Sumni answered it perfectly. Nothing. Well, then why do I need to answer this? My question should be, I don't have a spiritual master. What am I lacking? How do I get a spiritual master? So that rest of the 64 items become easy to follow so that I can advance quickly. Because PhD on Krishna or PhD in spirituality is not going to give you any benefit. In Srimad Bhagavatam, our head spiritual master in the Parampara, which is Brahmaji, Brahmaji says this, nobody else. Brahmaji, the first living entity whose entire body is largely made up of intelligence. The other components are very little. His body is largely intelligence. He says, the only gain of Jnani following the Jnana Yoga process is pain. So why do we have to go through that process? Yes, I'm not saying don't ask. So going forward, you may still have a question and I will say, well, this answer has no meaning because it's a Jnani level and we'll skip on a go forward basis. If everybody agrees to that point. So far, it's only Chaitanya Prabhu and Lakshmi saying this. Okay, I still got silence. Okay, question number 10. Is a wise man out of the 4 people who come to Krishna from 7.16 Bhagavad Gita a Kanishta Adhikari? And the wise who surrenders to Krishna after many, many births, speaking of the same categories? So there seems to be different gradation of wise man in chapter 3. How is he a Kanishta category along with others when his goal is Krishna? So I already described that Kanishta can be different categories. So, and understand that there will be progression, that one starts as a neophyte and goes on to become a pure devotee. Hence, at some point, he will be in each of these various categories. So it's not that one person is always stuck at a particular category. No, it's a progression. Therefore, he will at some point, he will be a neophyte. At some point, he will advance little more and he'll go on to become a Jnani, then advance more and then go on to surrender. So there's a progression. So it depends on how you look at it. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, yes.
Question number 11. Srila Prabhupada said one should follow spiritual master even if there are some inconveniences to us. Is the same true for Siksha Guru for those not initiated? Are we supposed to follow everything we are told to by a spiritual teacher? So when a bona fide spiritual master who is able to give you initiation, if such spiritual master is acting as Siksha Guru, you should try to follow all his instructions because spiritual master will not give instructions that are not possible for you to follow because spiritual master is actually manifestation of Paramatma. Other devotees who are not spiritual masters, who are Siksha Gurus, you do not have to follow everything. You have to judge whether the devotee Siksha Guru is speaking from scriptures or is it his Pratyaksha Praman. And you have to follow what the scriptures are telling you. So understand that at ISKCON, there are various devotees at various levels. They may be giving you guidance, but some may be giving you guidance without scriptural reference. Well, that becomes pratyaksha praman. That you don't have to follow. So get scriptural guidance and then read the scriptural guidance and follow the scriptures. Does that answer the inquiry? It's a very important inquiry to understand.
Like on a practical side, on our point, like our understanding of scriptures would not be so advanced to understand.
Yeah, you are correct, but you ask reference. So first you will know whether what he is saying is coming from the scriptures or is it pratyaksha praman. That's why you are asking for reference. Whether you are able to follow all of scriptures now is a second point. You will follow, there will be a progression. So you will understand, follow right away, or some you will understand later on. That's a different point. But your question about whether I have to follow whatever the Siksha Guru is saying, no, you don't. If the Siksha Guru means a devotee who's not a spiritual master, he's a devotee, and he is giving you some instructions or answering questions, and if there is no scriptural reference, well, that is pratyaksha praman. Abhishek Prabhu.
Thank you.
So Sumnima is asking, will they get offended if he asks for scriptural reference? If somebody gets offended when you ask for scriptural reference, run far away from them. A sign of elevated devotee is that the elevated devotee will never get offended. He will actually think that he is doing offense to someone, even though he is not doing an offense, right? So somebody gets offended by you asking scripture reference, run very far away from them. It is the duty of the devotee giving something out. He should give scriptural reference. And the reference for this reference is Bhagavad Gita 17.15. So I request Sumnima, if you can go to Bhagavad Gita 17.15, there's a very important verse, is known as austerity of speech, and read the purport.
17.15, Prabhuji.
Yeah, 17.15 Bhagavad Gita purport.
Yes. Austerities of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literatures.
Purport.
One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the mind of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his student, but as a teacher should not speak to those who are not his student if he will agitate their mind. This penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scripture. One should at once quote from scriptural authorities to back up what he's saying. And that at the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussion, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called the penance of speech.
Right. So what did we read in the middle of the purport? The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by scriptures. So you need scriptural reference. And Prabhupada says one should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. Sumnima?
Yes, Prabhuji, makes sense. Thank you.
All right.
Prabhuji, I have a follow-up question on this.
Mhm, mhm.
So, like, There are different for not those Shiksha Gurus who are not initiating spiritual master. There may be still many gradations. Some people are much senior, even though they are not initiating. Now, what I understand, the problem comes like they will give instructions which are always regarding spiritual practices, like to engage us more in services and so on. Their instructions will not be contradictory to Krishna consciousness. But at our own level, our material desires may be conflicting to their instruction, where the problem comes. And
Yeah, so it's
I
not the
feel it's a
problem of
common.
so it's not the problem of Siksha Guru giving you something right or wrong. No, Siksha Guru is already giving you proper. Your challenge is your material desires. So you cannot say, should I follow Siksha Guru? No, the problem is your material desires. You need to work on your material desires rather than framing the question saying whether I need to follow whatever Siksha Guru is saying. Right? The
Yes.
conflict is not about Siksha Guru. The conflict is your desires.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. But like at the moment, we should follow based on our level, or we should
Yeah. So let me
take
give you a
a.
practical example.
Yes. Thank you.
So when a Siksha Guru tells you something and you have a conflict, you ask the Siksha Guru, how can I do this? And I did this to my spiritual master. So on day one, the disciples of my spiritual master, they set up a one-on-one meeting with my spiritual master, although I have not yet taken shelter. So my spiritual master, so he's acting as Siksha Guru, although I don't know, I have not asked, but he's acting. So he's giving me instructions. He said, memorize verses, read scriptures. So I said, so I had a conflict. So I'm pure materialistic person. I have my material world calendar, which is packed, jam-packed for next 12 months. So I told my spiritual master. So at that time, he was not my spiritual master. So I asked him with folded hands. I said, I want to follow what you are asking me to follow, but tell me, how do I follow? Because my next 12 months personal life calendar is jam packed. So how am I going to incorporate what you are asking me to do? So my spiritual master, his grace Vaishnav Adhikari, he said, you have lots of time. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, you have lots of time. And he said, so the instruction to me was to memorize verses. And I said, I don't have time. So he said, next time you go to a grocery line, have one of the verse either on a phone or on a card and recite one line at a time. He said, what are you doing at a grocery store? Nothing, wasting time. And then he said, say when you are taking shower, what are you doing? Memorize one line at a time. Or when you are driving and standing at a stop line or standing at a red light, what are you doing for that 1 minute? He said, memorize verse. So he gave me practical instructions to apply his instructions. So instead of you saying there is a conflict about Siksha Guru, first the conflict is not about Siksha Guru. The conflict is about your material desires. And the solution is ask the Siksha Guru. Yes, the scriptures are saying so and so. How do I do this? The how question you ask, that how do I apply this in practice? And they will give you some guidance. Abhishek Prabhu?
Prabhu, you example which you gave, you said that um, you wanted to follow his instruction, which is very nice. Sometimes we may not be wanting. So my question is it good idea if we don't want to do it, and like we should force ourselves to do it, even if we like in future if we have problems, will the blame, like from my mind, I'll blame the person who gave me the instruction.
No, you should not blame the other person. The blame is on you that you do not want to follow. That you want to follow to enjoy the material world. It's not the other person, it's Krishna's instruction. that one should act in the material world only for purification. So you are not following Krishna's instruction. Abhishek Prabhu, read Bhagavad Gita 5.11. What is it that Krishna has told us to follow? 5.11 translation.
The yogis abandoning attachment act with body, mind, and intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification.
Right? So you're supposed to use your body, mind, intelligence, and even the senses to act in the world only for purification. This is Krishna's instruction in Bhagavad Gita. So if you are not following and you are trying to find an excuse to blame somebody, it's not for somebody else's problem. The problem lies at you, that you need to set your priorities right. What exactly is your priority? Spiritual elevation, or you just want to live in the material world according to your karmic destination?
The question which I asked was that if we follow, if we accept to follow this instruction, and later on we face problem, in that case, how should we see it?
Yeah, so ask them, how do I do? You tell them that this instruction, how do I follow? Ask that to the Siksha Guru and get guidance. Problem isn't lying with the Siksha Guru. Problem is lying that I have material desires and I'm trying to have my feet in two places. So we need to set our priorities straight, that what exactly is my priority. So ask the question, how do I do this? And take baby steps. If you try to, so when you have challenges and you say, okay, from tomorrow onwards, I will drop 100% material things, and from tomorrow I am 100% spiritual. Well, it doesn't work that way. You are bound to fail. No, take baby steps. Exactly what my spiritual master did for me. He was holding my hand without me realizing. What did my spiritual master say? When you are standing in grocery line, memorize one line at a time. Now, grocery line, you are standing for less than 2-3 minutes. This small breaks, he gave me a laundry list of small breaks during the day. That's how I have memorized so many verses. My spiritual master did not tell me, you are fool number one. Drop material things and pick up spirituality. He never said that. He just said, find these tiny gaps during the day as standing in a grocery line, recite, memorize one line at a time, and look how many verses I have now memorized. I recite like parrot verses from so many scriptures, from Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, Shishopanishad, Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm not trying to glorify, I'm just trying to give you an example that take baby steps to come out of your material desire situation and grow from there. Abhishek Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhu.
All right. Question number 12. It is said, Guru engages disciple according to their nature. It is also said, with instructions, Guru gives power to follow them. So this can mean sometimes we are given instructions contradictory to our nature and we should follow them having faith. And what if following such instructions we get disturbed in future? So it's a continuation of the discussion we are just having, that bona fide spiritual master is manifestation of Paramatma. Therefore, spiritual master will give you instructions according to your nature, whether or not you know it. As well as the spiritual master will empower you to execute what the spiritual master is asking you to do. Why we feel disturbed is not because spiritual master's instruction is contradictory to our nature. Rather, it is because of my bodily attachment I may feel that the spiritual master's instruction is contradictory, or if I have not fully understood spiritual master's mood and instruction. So in this scenario, what you do is you can always clarify with your spiritual master if you find challenges to execute his order, and spiritual master can guide you further. Spiritual master is not going to sit with a stick on you. He's there to guide you. So get clarification and present your challenges to him so that he can guide you properly. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Question number 13 is about elections, which I already answered at our last class. Question number 14. Why do Mayavadis, impersonalists, claim that chanting any divine name, be it Krishna or the names of demigod, yields the same spiritual results? Does this imply that demigod worshippers and Mayavadis share the same philosophical viewpoint? So Mayavadis have misconception about scriptures. Mayavadis and demigod worshippers do not have the same viewpoint. Demigod worshippers worship one or more demigods for quickly satisfying material desires and wanting to go to heaven, while Mayavadis think Brahman effulgence is the highest and merging with Brahman effulgence is the goal of life. So it's not that Mayavadis and demigods share the same philosophical one, they are different. Does that answer the question? Next question. Question number 15. So I'm going to ask you a question for question number 15. Why does Krishna, after providing instructions, leaves us with some small independence to make a choice? Can he not use his energy to divert our mind towards realization instead of leaving us with free will? So all of you, question for all of you. Can you ask someone to forcefully love you? Can you say, hey, love me? Can you ask someone to forcefully love you? Everybody?
No, we can't.
No, Prabhuji.
Rest of you? Everybody? I only got a couple answers. Hare Krishna?
No, Prabhuji.
No.
No, Prabhuji.
Similarly, Krishna does not interfere with Jiva's free will. Krishna wants Jiva to use the free will properly and do devotional service and to naturally love Krishna. Now, the devotee who has asked this question has the correct realization that our free will is one of the problem. Because of ignorance, I am using my free will incorrectly. But Krishna does not interfere with the free will. He wants us to use our free will properly and come to the point of naturally loving Krishna. Does that answer the question? Question number 16. If someone of different religion is doing devotional service from their heart for their God, say Jesus or Buddha or anyone, is it the same as serving Krishna? Because Buddha is considered an avatar of Vishnu. Is it possible that they are in different rasa compared to Krishna Bhakta? So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.23 that those who worship other gods, such as demigods, they actually worship Krishna. Meaning, worship of the person worshipping demigods, the worship goes to Krishna. But the person worshipping the demigod, the person does not go to Krishna. Where the worshipper goes depends on who is worshipping with what aspirations. So those worshipping Krishna or Krishna's avatars at Vishnu Tattva level will attain spiritual destination. And those worshipping demigods may attain heaven, but they will continue the cycle of birth and death. And those worshipping Jesus can attain spiritual world, but the challenge with Christianity is that because they do not have authorized purports to the Bible, hence that there are few versions of Bible, and then the Christians, they do not follow their own commandment, at least one of them. So one of the commandment says, thou shall not kill. Now some Christians, to satisfy their tongue's taste, these Christians have misinterpreted thou shall not kill to mean not kill humans, but they think it is okay to kill animals and eat because they have wrongly claimed that the soul in the human body is different as compared to the soul in the animal body. We have studied in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 as well as 5.18 as well as 15.7 that souls in any of the 8.4 million life forms is the same soul, and all souls are parts and parcels of Krishna. So every living entity in entire creation, whether he is liberated or conditioned, has a unique one-on-one rasa with Krishna. So there are so many ifs in this question, which I have tried to answer. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, that was a little doubtful, yes, Sumnima.
No, I was still a little bit curious on if they're doing everything that we are doing in the same mood,
Yeah,
with same level of
it will vary. Now understand, it's not a standard answer for a Jesus is different. Like my answer will differ for Jesus, which I briefly described. My answer for Buddha will vary because Buddha never really gave any instruction. Buddha incarnated for a very particular purpose to distract all those meat eaters because they were using or misinterpreting Vedas to eat meat. So Buddha just tried to distract them by saying, no, don't follow Vedas, follow me. This was a wrong way to distract people, but that was the only way to distract and get them out of meat eating. So it's not a one sentence fits all answers. It will depend on who's doing what. Rather than trying to understand all religions, you just focus on one. So this discussion about wanting to understand all spiritual paths is coming up very, very soon at the Bhagavad Gita batch 6 and 7 at the start of chapter 8 is going to be a very heavy discussion. It's coming up where we'll discuss that that pick one. If you have picked Krishna consciousness, just pick that, go along that route, and don't worry about other processes, because if you try to understand other processes, it's actually going to agitate your mind. Why is this process like this? Why is this process like that? What's the destination? What not? Don't try to agitate your mind. My mind is already in a mess. Why do I want to create more mess in my mind? So just focus on what is possible for you. If you have picked Krishna consciousness as a path, but more discussion is coming up in Bhagavad Gita chapter 8 at the start. So Nima, does that further help you?
Yes, Prabhuji. I was just, for more than for myself, how do I perceive others who are in their path? So that was the, curiosity,
so
but I'll be waiting for that chapter.
Yeah, so we have discussed that spirituality paths are like a pyramid, that many follow different paths, and as they keep getting elevated, the pyramid becomes narrower and narrower, and they coming to the same conclusion. Now, if you actually understand Bhagavad Gita, and if you actually understand Bible, and if you actually understand Quran, the bottom line principle in all these three scriptures is identical to attain love of God. But their processes are different. But the bottom line principle doesn't change. Therefore, spirituality is like a pyramid, that it's wide at the base, and as all these various paths keep getting narrower and narrower, they essentially talk of the same point, that our bottom line goal is to attain love of God. So, Nima?
Yes, Prabhuji, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right, very good. Okay, so I'm going to share striking points from the previous class. So I forgot to share at our last class. So I'm sharing now. So we have 7 slides. So this is the striking points from the previous to previous class. Take snapshot. This is slide number 1 of the 7. This is slide number 2. Number 3. Number 4. Five, 6, and 7. And from the previous to previous class, I will give you Prabhupada lecture notes. So we stopped this at our last class, but I forgot to give this at our previous class. So I'm sharing right now, which I already have. So these are 12 slides from the previous to previous class. Slide number 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. and 12. And I will also share striking points from the last class. So I'm not answering inquiries from the last class. I'm only giving you striking points from the last class. The inquiries I will answer in subsequent classes. So these are striking points, 6 slides from the last class. Slide number 1. Number 2. 3. 4. 5. and 6. So some of you did answer Prabhupada points. I have not captured them on the slides. you continue to capture points, and the whole idea was that you should be learning how to listen to Prabhupada lectures, which you all are doing it properly. So we are just getting close to 11:30 a.m. Toronto time. Any questions, comments, realizations?
Devotee, can you please send me
Priya, we cannot hear you. Your voice was broken. Repeat again, please.
No,
Every
my
se-
wife is going to kick me out.
Priya, you can please message me offline, whatever you are asking. There's background noise and we cannot hear you what you're saying.
Okay, Devotee.
All right, we are just about at 11:30 a.m. Toronto time. Are we okay to stop here?
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.